Bill WEDEKIND, United States Marine Corps, Vietnam. I first met Bill WEDEKIND in Westmoreland, Kansas, August 20th, 2009. I went there with 2 other Vietnam veterans, and boy, what a day we had. Bill is such an inspiration. In Vietnam, he was with reconnaissance, and he was with the 1st Reconnaissance Battalion, 1st Marine Division. He was severely wounded before his 19th birthday. Bill lost both eyes and both hands, and he tells an incredible story. He makes pottery. Folks, for the last 50 years, Bill has been making pottery. Get this, no hands and no eyes. I'll let Bill tell the story. I have a video on YouTube called Bill the Potter. You need to watch it. I also did a video with Bill called Me and Bill, where we go into schools, we talk to kids about our country, about our freedoms, and one of Bill's favorite quotes is from Henry Ford. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. When I'm feeling down, I'll give Bill a call. He's such an inspiration to me. I don't feel sorry for the guy. The only thing you really can't do is tie a tie or pull up a zipper, and I've helped him. And it's just, he's changed my life. He really has. Hey, Brandon Glidden, I want to thank you again for sponsoring this story, making it possible for others to hear it, to watch it. We're in a day, folks, where our younger generation needs to hear these stories. They were born in a free country, but do they really know what freedom is? I challenge them. We challenge them in the schools. And we're fighting for the same freedoms today in our own country, folks, that our veterans fought for. We're in a tough time right now. We're in a difficult time. And freedom is not free. It's never free. Freedom is earned. So I'm happy to share the entire story with you of my interview with Bill WEDEKIND. If you'd be interested in helping sponsor one of these stories, please get a hold of me. And I know a lot of people would appreciate it. So, okay, one of my heroes. I'm bringing you his whole interview, Bill WEDEKIND, on the Voices of History channel here on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. God bless you. And I'll talk to you soon. When did you go into the military? What year?
1968.
Where'd you go to?
67, rather.
67? Were you drafted?
No.
Okay, you enlisted in the Marine Corps.
Uh-huh.
How old were you then?
18.
Where'd you go to basic training?
San Diego.
MCRD?
Yep.
You remember your first day at boot camp?
Yeah. How can you forget it?
Did you have to put your feet on the yellow footprints or whatever?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A lot of things we had to do.
What were you trained to do in the Marine Corps, Bill?
Kill people. Well,
Was there
efficiently.
every Marine's a rifleman, so.
Yeah. And that's your first and primary MOS is a rifleman. You're an infantryman. My specialty was reconnaissance.
So how old did you say you were in 67?
18.
18 years old. Why did you go in the military?
Well, in 1967, if you were single and not college bound, you were going to get a letter from the draft board. And the Marine Corps was offering at that point in time, this was in July of 67, a 2-year enlistment. And being the son of a Marine, there was only one branch to choose, the Marine Corps. And I had lived in an army town all my life, so that made it even stronger for me to go into the Marine Corps. No offense, guys. And I was beaten on the 1st Division when I was in the junior high school. But anyhow, no, the Marine Corps, the boot camp started for me when I was still wearing training pants. Okay? Before I was 4 years old, I could do the complete manual of arms with a toy rifle. Tell you anything about the way I was raised?
You mentioned your father being a Marine.
Yep.
He fought in Korea.
And World War II.
I think you said Okinawa?
Yep.
Iwo Jima?
No. Dad was 17 when he went ashore in Okinawa.
Did he talk much after?
Six
To you
Marine.
guys, did he talk much to the kids about his war experience?
A little bit, not a lot. Like he said, I had the nightmares, why do you need them? So he kind of kept a lot of it to himself. The nastier stuff he kept to himself. He talked to me probably more than my brothers because I had seen a little bit of the elephant too. So I was more apt to be able to understand what he was talking about and not ask a lot of stupid questions.
What did you know about Vietnam when you went in? Did you know that you're probably going to end up over there?
I walked into the recruiter's office and he said, I can promise you two things, young man. He said, I can promise you boot camp in Vietnam on a 2-year enlistment. I said, okay. That was my job. That's what I was supposed to do. That's what I went. I had no problem with it.
Tell me what you remember about arriving in country the first time. What you felt, you smelled, you saw.
Total shock. Come in on a Boeing 707 Continental Airlines. That was the last time I flew on that airliner too, by the way. Never flew with Continental again. I don't know why. A full company of Marines, one lieutenant who was a converted warrant officer, first lieutenant, but he'd been a warrant officer for years. And he had a Colt 45 automatic in a holster, on his waist. It probably was unloaded. Loaded, I'm not sure he could have hit the back of the airplane with it. The only weapon on board the plane. And I thought, this is stupid. We're going into a combat zone. Where's our weapons? I was going, what's going on here? This is weird. Get off the plane, still no weapons. Nothing. Stand around for 4 hours before finally a 6-by comes and picks me up. And I'm watching the F-4s, take off from Da Nang Air Base there, because Da Nang was where we went into. And I'm watching these F-4s take off, loaded, with missiles and bombs and, napalm and stuff. Going out loaded, coming back empty. And I'm watching these for about 3-4 hours. And they finally come by with a 6-by and pick, there's about 20 of us up. We're piled in the back of the 6-by, and it's open. And the driver's got an M16, which is padlocked to the dashboard. And I'm seeing all these people walk around wearing black pajamas, which you've been told that's what the VC wear. Well, everybody wears them. They didn't tell you that. A little nervous. I don't know whether to tell you this or not. It was probably the most shocking thing I experienced on that first day. You can edit it out if you don't like it, I guess. We're going down the road in this mama-son, or female Vietnamese. We see her a couple blocks off. She stops, drops her pants, squats, does her number on the side of the road. And I'm this clod kicker from Kansas. I'd never seen anybody. And we walk by, she smiles and waves at us when we drive by. Blows my mind. Culture shock, first class. I'm not ready for that. But it takes a couple days to get orientated and get our weapons. And, you said the first day. Okay. That's about it.
That's good. So tell me about, you're with the, what company you're with? And you're with the
1st Reconnaissance Battalion, 1st Marine Division, Bravo Company.
And you're PFC, or?
Yeah. Yeah, I made PFC before I got over there. Made Lance Corporal in about 45 days, which was E3 after I was there. I don't know how, but...
So you're 18 years old, you're in Vietnam.
Yep.
When was your first time you encountered the enemy? Where were you? What happened? What was happening? First engagement over there. You remember?
Well, the work I did was we were doing reconnaissance. Our job was to observe and count and report. If you had a firefight, you were normally in trouble because you're normally too deep to get any help. And there was 8 of you. So you were pretty much out to lunch. So you avoided them as much as possible. Okay, you're talking about the first time I got shot at that I knew I was getting shot at.
Well, even before that, I mean, does a young Marine have a feeling of invincibility?
Well, my first patrol was what they call a fixed observation post. And that occurred probably, I had been in country maybe 5 days before I went out the first time. And that's kind of how they broke in, because it's pretty safe for the most part. Anyhow, it's a hilltop, dug-in positions and sandbags and the whole bit. You've got a couple M60 machine guns. You've got some heavy weapons up there and a lot of ammunition and food and water. You're pretty good, and it's normally the hills are pretty inaccessible or assaultable. Although it always seemed to me that there was one approach that could be used. But we're on this fixed observation post looking over 2 valleys. We're high enough we can look over another chain of hills into another valley. And we're looking for movement, enemy movement. And we've got a set of those, they're like big periscopes, only they're binoculars. They mounted on a stand. Lee, what'd they call those things?
I don't think I ever saw one like that. I'm not sure what.
Okay, you weren't officer. The thing stood up probably 8 foot tall, but you looked in them you could turn them like a periscope, and they went up and like that, and you could see an awful long way with them, miles. And our job on that hill was to, find the movement. If we saw movement, then we had to check to see if whether it was our boys or not, and if not, then we had authorization to call in either airstrikes or artillery fire. And we did that on a couple different days on that first patrol. But, I was so boot, basically all I was doing was getting a suntan and getting in the way. But we didn't have any movement or anything around our position. It was pretty safe. I had a lot of patrols like that. They were pretty calm. All you're doing is watching. A couple not. The humpers, as we called humpers, where you went out in the bush, 8 of you, and you're way back in Charlie's backyard, were the real dangerous ones, because if you got caught there, you were toast. But the observation posts they seemed very safe. By the way, that's where I was wounded. On one of those safe patrols. But anyhow.
Well, we're going to work into that. So
Yeah.
how many months were you over in Vietnam before you got hurt?
80 days.
80 days.
Yeah, I arrived there, I think, the 13th of March and was hit the 25th of May. I didn't know what I was doing. I had never been there long enough to know that.
Did you lose any friends during that time?
Quite a few.
Were you with them at the time?
No. They were hit after I was, later. There was one guy that was wounded with me when I was wounded. But 2 weeks after I was wounded, my team... See, I wasn't even out with my normal team when I was wounded. I was out with another team. Because we went on a fixed observation post, we took a 12-man unit. And our standard teams were only 8 men. So, guys, if you wanted to go out, you'd go out with another patrol on a fixed observation post. It beat filling sandbags and doing the other nonsense stuff around battalion area. See, division headquarters is on the hill was on the division just... the general's quarter for the 1st Marine Division was about 800 yards up the hill from us, so things had to be pretty shipshape. And it was a lot easier to go out in the bush than to stay around the area. I had more time in that 80 days out in the bush than some guys had been there for 6 months. Because I like being out in the field. So let's work. I'm lazy.
So you're fighting the Viet Cong, the North Vietnamese?
Both. Oh, I started to tell you. 2 weeks after I was wounded, my team was out as a 12-man team on a fixed observation post, and they got hit one night by an excess of 250 NVA regulars. 2 were killed in their sleep. 2 more were killed during the fighting. 4 got out with the helicopter evac during the fighting. 4 more didn't get out until the next day. And there were still over 150 NVA bodies on the field. My guys fought pretty good. There was 1 Navy Cross issued during that to a Navy corpsman who basically killed himself in order to carry the body of a friend on board a copter because he'd already lost his arm above the elbow tied his own tourniquet and picked up his friend who was dead and carried him onto the copter because he didn't want his body mutilated, which would have happened probably. So there's quite a few names on the wall I know. There were some after too that I later found out about. I don't like seeing the wall.
You been back though?
I've seen a mock-up. Bothered me a lot.
I've been there with Lee and some others.
It's hard to take. It really is. I've never been to the one in Washington, D.C. and probably won't go there. The mock-up was enough. I mean, it looked real to me. Anyhow.
Well, Bill, tell me about what happened to you with the grenade, and just walk me into that. And go ahead and sit back if you can.
Okay.
Sure, there you go.
You're going to be disappointed because I really don't know exactly what happened.
Well, tell me the best you remember.
We had movement. I was on a fixed observation post in Antenna Valley. No, you guys were down south. You wouldn't know. Antenna Valley was not a nice place. It was named that because all the Vietnamese radio antennas that were there. It was pretty active. It was active enough. We had 2 observation posts looking over the valley. And the one I was at was the low post. It was quite assaultable. They say from 2 sides anyhow, easily. And we had movement on our perimeter the night before, and the hill at the other end of the valley was getting hit pretty hard. I mean, it was hard enough. They had Puff the Magic Dragon or Spooky, I don't know which it is, one that had the Gatling gun in it, working out on the side of their hill, you know, from the air, working it around. They were getting hit pretty hard, and we started getting movement too. Plus they had 155 howitzer fire coming in on our perimeter. I mean, it was serious. I was glad I was where I was at. Excuse me. And we started getting movement in front of my position, actually. And Sarge says, okay, we're going to call in some perimeter fire. And he requested 155, couple rounds. And they said, battery's busy. They told him, battery's busy, we're firing 8-inch. Lee, you were with an artillery unit. You know what? You guys had 8-inch, didn't you?
Mostly, we were the 155s that we had with us, and a lot of the 105s. We didn't have any 8-inch real close.
Yeah, 8-inch makes a real big hole in the ground and a lot of noise. It's pretty nasty piece of ordnance. But it's got a funny habit. And they fired 2 rounds. One hit maybe, I'm going to say, 200 yards or so in front of my position. And the second round hit about that far behind my position. And I hollered at Sarge, I said, they're not firing a third, are they? He said, no. I said, good, because if they are, I'm changing holes, because that third one would have hit right in my lap. But that first round that hit in front of my position took 2 rows of sandbags off it, right off the top. And luckily I was sitting in a hole with my back to it, and it went over my head. Or I could have had a headache. Broke my sunglasses, made me mad. But the next day, Sarge asked me if I would volunteer to lead a 4-man patrol and check the perimeter, because I'd helped set up the booby traps. It was my first time doing that. I was too boot to do it, and I think he thought I had more experience in what I did. And he also wanted me to do a little bit farther perimeter reconnaissance around our hill to see if I could see where they were trying to approach us at, so we could set some surprises for them. And of course, I didn't. You know, I had just happy if I had good sense. So I said, "Yeah, I'll lead it." And I got them through the booby traps I had set up, and I checked the ones that we had set up, and they were fine, hadn't been tampered with, because they didn't really get that close to it, because these were in pretty tight. And I started down around the hill, and I went around a corner, and the guy behind me was around the corner too. And then next thing I knew, I was in Bethesda Naval Hospital, Bethesda, Maryland. I ain't got a clue. I must have tripped something. I don't know.
You didn't feel anything? Hear anything?
I was still conscious afterwards, but don't remember it. God was good to me. He didn't let me remember it, because I was answering questions. And he was also very good to me because I had a Navy corpsman there that was an E6. They generally don't go out in the field. He was good because he kept, oh, how good he was. He kept me and the guy that was with me alive for 45 minutes before we got medevaced, and we both had severe head wounds. Of course, both my eyes, part of this ear, both eardrums are busted. It took out about 4 teeth on my upper jaw, cut my lip all the way through to the right side of my nose. I can grow a mustache here and from my nose over, but not patch here because of skin graft. I can't pull my jeans up very far. Okay. All right. Broke my leg here. This here and here was due to the Vietnam. This is unforeseen objects in the course of raising 7 children. That's where most of my scars are. I got more scars on that left shin from walking into things I didn't see. And then a hole here and a hole here. This leg was not touched or my chest. I got 2 scars on this shoulder and one on this one. And if I'm getting the right position, they line up. I think it was a bullet graze. Maybe. Or just shrapnel. We don't know. I don't know. Plus, like I said, my forehead, plate in the forehead. This up here was a doctor that lied to me. So, anyhow.
So, you're giving me the recount of who was with you. The corpsman was with you. So someone,
No.
Somebody told you what happened, right? When the corpsman,
No.
the E6.
No. Nope.
Nobody saw what happened then. Or?
Nope.
But
Because the 2 guys that could see it, there weren't 2 guys who could see it. The only 2 guys that knew about it were both of us that were wounded. And I don't know whether he survived or not. I was told he didn't, but I couldn't find his name on the wall. So I don't know.
But who's the E6 that helped you?
The Navy corpsman that came down that was with our team. See, we're only a 4-man unit that went out on this little patrol. There were 8 other guys still up on top of the hill. Okay. We're just doing kind of a perimeter thing. Just kind of sniffing around a little bit, see if we could see what happened, where they were coming from. Because it's nice to know. I mean, if you know where they're coming at, they have a tendency to repeat themselves. So you can set a surprise for them.
So it wasn't a grenade?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know. I have no clue. I said I'm going to disappoint you.
That's not disappointing.
It's just, I don't know. And I suppose I could be hypnotized to find out, but I don't think I want to. I mean, it's bad enough that somebody with me got hurt, maybe killed. Now, maybe I did something stupid. I don't think I want to know. I'd rather wonder what I did than know for certain.
Well,
It's easier on the brain that way.
Tell me about waking up and when you started to realize what had happened to you and who told you what had happened to you.
It took almost 2 weeks. Well, okay, I was wounded 25th of May. I got back to Bethesda Naval Hospital the 9th of June, day after my 19th birthday. Pretty good birthday present, guaranteed income for life. But anyhow, as long as Congress agrees. I thought I could still see. For 2 weeks, I thought I could still see. Your mind does some strange things. And of course, I thought I still had my hands. I mean, if I want to twiddle my thumbs, that's what I'm doing. I could still feel them. Drum my fingers. The nerves don't know the hand isn't there. So you can still feel them. And they're bandaged. Okay? I didn't realize to me that they were too short. I mean, there should have been that much more of them. I didn't realize that. You don't think about those things. And I had bandages over my head from a head wound. And the bandages were, down across my eyes, so I thought that's why I couldn't see. But see, I thought I could see a little bit through them. So things were kind of fuzzy. Mm-hmm. Well, it was my imagination furnishing me images to illustrate the sounds I was hearing. And my mom and dad came up after I'd been there about 2 weeks. They finally were able to come to Bethesda because it's a long way from Kansas, especially if you got 4 younger brothers at home. And mom and dad don't make that much money. In fact, their fellow employees bought them tickets to come see me, which was pretty good of them. And I wanted the bandages taken off so I could see them clearly. And Dad says, "No, you're blind." I said, "No, I'm not. I can see you." He said, "Bill, you lost your hands and your eyes." Mom was going at it too, both of them. "You lost both your hands and your eyes." I said, "No, I can feel my hands." I know they're there. And I can see you. I said, Dad, you're wearing your brown suit and you got your red tie. He did. Of course, it's a pretty easy deduction. He had one suit and a favorite tie. Mom was wearing her black dress. She had her favorite dress. What I didn't realize until later on, the picture I saw of them in my mind had the front door of our home in Kansas behind them, not a 20-some bed ward at Bethesda Naval Hospital. So my mind was supplying itself visions to keep me from being too shocked. A Navy corpsman came over, had chain bandages. This guy was sharp. I don't know what it was, Dick Southworth or Stan. Oh no, I'm a mental block on Stan's last name. I don't know. Both of them's first name was Corpsman. But anyhow, he unwrapped my arm. He said, "Oh, I forgot some stuff. Be back." Well, he wasn't. He didn't forget anything. He just stepped back. Well, the first thing I did was put my arm up to my face. And there was no hand on the end of it. And I measured my arms. They were the same length. That's when I believed what Mom and Dad were telling me. Ding, ding, ding. Realization. Hello, fact of life. Now deal with it. And that's how I had to start dealing with it. Wasn't fun, but I managed.
Tell me about the recovery process, rehabilitation, surgeries.
I don't know how many operations I've had. Been too many. The most crucial ones and the most important ones were what they did with my forearms. This operation is called a Crookenberg amputation. I've already told you about this, haven't I?
Tell me again for this camera.
Okay. This operation is called a Crookenberg amputation. It was developed in Germany after World War I because there were so many German soldiers who were blind and double-hand amputees due to the trench warfare. I mean, when they're fighting, everything's sticking up over the top of the edge of the trench is their heads and their hands. So that was a common wounding among them. And he came up with this idea to allow them to do things for themselves. Because the advantage of this, you can feel what you're doing. With a hook or prosthetic, you can't. What this operation does, it separates the two bones in the forearm halfway at the elbow, and then attaches the muscles that control the thumb to this inside bone, the radius. And when you want to close it, you just lay the thumb against the side of your hand, open it, you move the thumb. Like I mentioned before, you want to twiddle your thumbs, that's how I do it. Should I go into this one?
Yeah.
Okay. This worked out so well. I had this one was done in March of 1969 at Heinz VA Hospital in Chicago. And I decided to, since it worked so well, I decided to have the right one done too. But I waited 4 years to have it done because of my tattoo here. I didn't want to give him a splitting headache. Okay. This little tattoo is a little Marine Corps bulldog, and it said U.S.M.C. on it, and he's got a drill instructor's cap on. But I've been asking kids this for quite a few years, if I should get an alligator tattooed on this arm. The kids think I should. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I will, but it would be kind of funny, especially if you're smoking a cigar. I'll give you some eyebrows like Groucho Marx. But anyhow, I haven't got around to doing it, probably won't. That's probably the most crucial operations were done. I had plastic surgery done, like I mentioned. This upper lip had been cut clear in two, and they removed the scar and then put a skin graft in there. I can't grow any mustache there. The skin for that come off the back of my neck. This right ear of mine, the middle section of it, middle third of it was gone, had been blown out. And in 1973, there was a plastic surgeon up there at Heinz by the name of Dr. Bert Brent. And the man was an absolute genius. And he spent 2 years with the Green Berets down in Panama as a doctor down there. Sharp guy. He just had one fetish, and it was for elephant jokes. He gave me a line I use in my speeches now when he changed the bandages on this arm. He'd get ready to pull the tape off. He'd say, "Well, Bill, hair today, gone tomorrow," and pull the tape. But anyhow, of course now I apply that to here. But anyhow, He designed a machine to cut new cartilage. And he molded the cartilage that was in my left ear, transposed it to the right ear. So he had a mold of what piece of cartilage was needed. And this machine was basically like a key cutter. You put the mold on one side and the raw cartilage on the other and turned it on, in 15 minutes it carved it. Previously, that operation probably would have taken 12 hours. And most people wouldn't have survived being under anesthesia that long. And he did this operation. And I was the first ear he did. He did several others up there at Hines. The most famous ears he ever did were John Paul Getty's grandson's ears. The kid was kidnapped by the Red Brigade over in Italy, and they cut both his ears off and mailed them to his grandpa in order to get some money. Well, Dr. Brent reconstructed his ears. The guy was a genius. Heck of a nice guy, too. I've had eardrums rebuilt and work on this lower right eyelid that was not successful, and a plate put in my forehead here, and I don't know. I don't remember half of them.
So you were in the hospital how long then?
I was wounded 25th of May and was released about the 1st of November 1969. Now, some of that was surgery, some of it was training at the Blind Center in Chicago. Part of that time from really the 1st of June to about the 1st of December, it was Bethesda Naval Hospital. Then I was sent to a VA hospital, although I was still in the Marine Corps, but they let me go home for Christmas. So, because I was being discharged anyhow. So it wasn't, not like they needed me to go back over.
So did you consider yourself, or now, a religious person, faith in God?
Yes. I just don't attend church real regular.
How about before you were hurt, after you were hurt?
Didn't have a clue. Mm-hmm. Well, I was in Vietnam, for example. I had a day off and I was stuck in battalion area, and I'd gotten the jobs I had to do that day done and all my gear straightened up. And I had some dead time, so I was looking around for something to read. Couldn't find anything except the Gideon Bible. So I started thumbing through it and come across the book of Romans. I said, cool. A story about the Roman Empire. That's how much Bible knowledge I had. I thought it was about the Roman Empire. Of course, in a way it sort of is, but it isn't. And that got me going in that direction. About 2 weeks later I was wounded. But I really didn't get into that until almost 2-3 years, about 1974. I really got into that. And I've got a pretty strong faith. Although I don't think any of them are right. I don't attend church on a regular basis at all.
Did you ever ask why it happened to you?
Oh, yeah.
What's the best answer you got to that question?
Why not? You can't dwell on why me. If you think too much and too long about it, you're going to start pitying yourself. And then you go in the tank. And it's real hard to fight back from that. Because there's two little forms of pleasure devices that will enter into it, and that's drugs and alcohol. If you start feeling sorry for yourself and you crawl off in a corner, you're going to turn to one or the other. Although you don't even have to. Just self-pity alone can kill you. Because you give up hope. So I didn't think about why me too long. It didn't matter. It's irrelevant. Because what's happened has happened. You can't change it. You can't hit the rewind button. It ain't going to go back. So you got to learn to deal with it. And the best way to learn to deal with it is going forward, not looking backwards. And that's what you do when you think about why me. God, I need to add that to my speech. I did that pretty good. Well, it's a new little twist I added to it. I can spread it.
Bill, tell me what's a good day for you now and what's a bad day for you?
Is what I'm doing. I don't know.
Are they all good? Or do you have some
No.
Do you have some bad days?
I have some bad days, yeah. I don't know what you mean by bad. You mean dwelling about Vietnam?
Well, just...
If that's the case, no, I don't have any of those. Because I've got it compartmentalized and put away. Got a good box on it. I didn't have that many harrowing experiences. I don't have that. I've had a nightmare about Vietnam or something. I don't know even what it is. Had it for 20-some years, and it stopped. I don't know what it was. Can't even remember it now. So I was lucky. I have a bad day to me is when I screw stuff up a lot. I keep running into stuff, and my compass is off about 10 degrees, and I clip doors, and I bleed a lot. I don't bleed much, but I've always got a cut or scrape or something on my body somewhere from walking into something. Well, you saw my shin. In fact, I think I've got one on this one I got the other day, walking into stuff. Top of my head's always got a scab or something on it. Cause, if my shelves out in the pottery shop, I bend over in the wrong spot and clip the top of my head and chip the wood.
Tell me how you got into making pottery and how that sounds to a layperson when they hear about what happened to you. I say this guy makes pottery. Tell me about how you got into the pottery.
Well, December of 1968, my grandmother, Myrtle Fincham, who ran a ceramic shop, that poured molds and stuff. But she had also taken classes in pottery, knew how to throw. In fact, had a wheel. I've still got one of her wheel, by the way. It doesn't work anymore, but I've got it. And it shouldn't work. It's 50 years old. But anyhow, she said, "Bill, I've been thinking about your situation a lot." And she said, "I think you could work on a potter's wheel." Well, I was still trying to figure out how to dress myself when she told me that. I mean, I was still having trouble with daily hygiene, for crying out loud. And so I thought her idea was a little preposterous. But I went through blind rehab training, and in that process she talked to vocational counselors, and they give you tests, and they said, "Well, you should be an accountant." I said, "Really? What do you got to do to become an accountant?" Because I wanted something to do. I didn't much care what it was. I said, "Well, there's a school in Little Rock that teaches blind people to be accountants, and you've got to be proficient at XX number of words per minute in grade 2 Braille." Well, that didn't work. See, the problem was where I'm a dual disability, the jobs that a blind person could do required extremely high Braille reading speed, and the jobs that a double-hand amputee could do normally required eyesight. So I was kind of double clutched out of it. And the Braille reading speed was not possible, that high rate. It's just not a reasonable expectation because I was reading with my lower lip. I'll see how sharp you guys are here. Especially when my lips were dried and chapped. Reading Braille was very difficult. I didn't tell it right. Nobody ever gets it anymore. It's one of those subtle things that most people, I give it in a speech and it goes right over their heads, they don't catch it. I've used it 4 times and I've had 2 people laugh at it, so I probably ought to take it out of the repertoire. But my grandma got me into it. And when I got through with the counseling, they hadn't come up with any better ideas, neither had I. So I said, "Okay, let's try it." I mean, if it works, great. If it doesn't, so what? Worse off than what you were before. I went and tried it, but I made it. I did it. With Grandma's help and coaching, I managed it. And I said, and I thought about it a bit. There was a couple things that appealed to me. 1, it was fun. 2, it gave me something to do. And with some training, I might be able to do it well. So I enrolled at Kansas State University. And my grandmother tutored me on the side. And I started potting in 1970. And I've taken, over the years, I've got about master level hours, I'd call it. I can't take anything else up there. They don't mean I'm that good, but I've taken it. But I've had to do a lot of things differently. I do some weird stuff, but I enjoy it. And 1976, I displayed my work for the President's Committee on Employment of the Handicapped in Washington, D.C., which was kind of cool. I paid all my expenses. It was fun. That's probably the most famous thing I've ever been at. I had a lot of fun at it. And I've been at it ever since. It's 39 years now.
Later, we'll go outside and I'd like to see some things. But
Okay.
You read about you, I meet you, and then it's like I don't see you as a person that, quote, is disabled. I see, no, I don't, I hope that's a compliment to you.
It is. It is.
I see you as a normal
Yep.
person who focuses on his abilities and not his disability. And
Mhm.
how do you communicate that to the kids? And then tell me what you tell the kids again in the schools. How do you encourage them?
Some get it, some don't. Most don't. I depend on a quotation by Henry Ford. And that is, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And the message I try to convey to the kids is it doesn't matter what obstacle you're up against. Whether it's studying for a test, learning to keep your room clean, whatever it is, or something like what I'm up against. If you don't think you can do it, I guarantee you, you won't be able to. But if you believe you can, you got it half-whipped. The only thing you got to do then is work hard. And it's because a lot of the things I've done, people didn't think could be done by someone with my disabilities. I mean, besides being a potter, I'm also an advanced class ham radio operator. I built 2 drag race cars. I write computer programs. I also have a 10-inch reel arm saw in the shop that I use, which I've cut myself with once in 36 years. Not too bad. That's this little scar here in the tip. Yeah. Got careless. But I didn't lose any fingers over it, so. That's sick. I got a warped sense of humor. What were we talking about? What was your question?
I asked you about
because I got off on a sidetrack.
You pretty much answered your message to the kids, how you encourage the kids to use what they have.
That if you believe that you can, that's the key to the whole thing. If you believe in yourself enough that you can, and you're willing to be courageous enough to try it, and you've got the willpower to stick to it, and you're determined to get the job done, it'll happen for you. It's just a matter of doing it. It takes a lot of hard work and some sweat. You're going to meet failure along the way, but that's normally one of 2 causes. One, you didn't plan out what you're doing well enough. You didn't do enough research. Or you're trying to do it too fast. Or you're not work hard enough to get the job done. That's the failing I normally come up with. I don't work hard enough to get the job done because my philosophy on work is that if I break out in the sweat, I'm overdoing it. So I think I've said that before somewhere. Anyhow, it's some kids get it, some don't. Some adults get it and some don't. It's sad for those that don't, because they have a lot of potential that never gets used.
Tell me about serving your country. It sounds like a cliche. You're fighting for your country. What would your message be to kids about freedom? What does freedom mean to you, and how would you convey to a young person the cost or the price for our freedoms?
There is a price for it. It's not free. You've got to work at it. You've got to protect it. You've got to guard against people trying to take it away from you. And there's plenty of that going on. I'd go back in if I could. I'm trying to decide whether I really want to say what I'm thinking or not.
What does freedom mean to you?
Government staying out of my way. Basically, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, which everybody I think has wrong, is there to limit government, not give it a license to do whatever it wants. We've forgotten that. And I think that's costing us a lot of freedoms every day. I'm not too sure our biggest enemy is outside the United States, but is inside. That's as close as I'm going to go to that, I think.
What does the American flag mean and represent to you as a veteran and as an American citizen?
I bled for it, and I'd do it again. Even with the screwed up system we got now. It's quite important. That's a poor answer. Best I got right now. I'm not thinking clearly here.
You're doing fine.
Low on nicotine.
You're doing great. We're getting towards the end of it.
Okay.
You're doing good, but you don't ever want to go to the wall, you think, huh? Just because.
Not again, no.
You know a lot of names on the wall, probably.
Too many. Of course, if you know one, it's too many. You can't. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I'm damn proud of everybody that's there. And I know, but for the grace of God, my name would be there, like these other two guys that are sitting in this room with me today. Could just as easily be there. Probably easier. They were in the Army after all. But I'm sorry, I had to shoot at you once. I can't help it. It's just
taking a shot.
it's something that they teach you in boot camp. You just got to shoot at them. I've never actually been to the wall. I was at Branson, and they had a replica there, the traveling wall, and I went there and looked up some names, found some, didn't find others. It makes me curious, but I haven't pursued it to try and track anybody down. And I'm not too sure they want to, I don't know. For some reason, I just haven't.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned through what you went through? Is there a lesson that you learned that was...
Why do you keep coming up with these good questions? They're not easy to answer, Larry.
I think you've shared some of it through your message to the kids.
Yeah.
But you personally, I mean, is it...
Well, that and you can't ever quit. If I quit, and I've done it, when I let down and start saying, oh, poor me, man, I go in the tank quick. And it's a fight to get back. Because it's a natural tendency to want to feel sorry for yourself. Well, maybe if I'd have joined a Marine Corps Reserve, I could have been a Marine and not had to go. Of course, that ain't the case nowadays, is it? Or maybe if I'd have done this or maybe not gone, I wouldn't have been drafted. I don't know. I don't know whether I would have been or not. What would my life be if it hadn't happened? You get thinking about that too much, it could cause you problems. And it's just, I'm not answering that with a flip. That's a tough question.
I've never have asked that question, but...
Well, don't ask it again to me. Don't ask me again anyhow, because I haven't got a good answer for it. I don't know. It's except I can't quit. It's, see, in a way, I feel like I'm still in a combat zone. Maybe that's why I haven't had trouble with the post-stress syndrome disorder stuff. Is because I'm still in a combat zone. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, yes and no, but I mean...
Okay.
In what situation?
My next step could be my last. I walk out here to the shop. Maybe I go out sometimes to check the kiln 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm firing the kiln. We've had timber rattlers out there on that sidewalk. Surprise! Could be painful. Probably wouldn't kill me, but make me pretty sick. Or maybe a rake gets blown over somewhere, I step on it and it slaps me in the head. Gets my plate, gets me good. Causes internal bleeding. I mean, my next step could be my last. I don't know. So I'm on alert constantly. It's like walking in the jungle. These two guys over here can tell you about that. You never really put your foot down fully. Do you know damn good and well what's underneath it? And that's kind of the way it is when you're blind. That, I suppose,
Are there sounds or things that bring back Vietnam to you today? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Smells, maybe things.
Helicopters. I did a lot of traveling in helicopters. And until about 2000 2 or 3 years ago, they bothered me. But I was in Branson, Missouri for a thing. It was the same weekend I saw the wall. They had Huey gunships there from Vietnam. And you could buy a ride on them. And I got talking to the people that run it, and one was the sergeant major, was a former Marine Corps sergeant major. Invited me for a ride and no charge. I said, fine, why not? I had been on a Huey in almost 40 years. I rode on that bird again, and I haven't been bothered by him since. The sergeant major gave me a set of red sergeant major stripes that you pin on your lapel. And she probably was a pretty tough sergeant major, female sergeant major, which kind of surprised me a little bit. She was a tough little cookie. But she helped me in that respect. It got me over the helicopter thing. Because we flew, when we go on patrol, we'd fly from, our battalion area out to wherever we were going, whether it be in the bush or on a hilltop, or sometimes places I didn't know. I was on some patrols, even after we were there and got back, I didn't know where I'd been, because the maps had no names on them, just letters and numbers. You couldn't tell where you're at.
Bill, what would you tell a Vietnam vet that may be watching this? What would your message be to a Vietnam vet today?
We did a damn good job. We did it right. And there's not a one of us got anything to be ashamed of. We won. It just wasn't acknowledged. Unfortunately, I've been watching the same thing happen to the Iraqi veteran. That happened with us. But they may be a little tougher and a little smarter group than we were. I don't know.
What's the lesson we've learned as a country from Vietnam? Have we learned anything?
No, I don't think we have. Except we're better fighters. Because I think the military learned a lot from Vietnam. The politicians didn't learn a damn thing. They're still doing the same stupid stuff. If you're going to get involved in a war, give it all you got, or don't bother with it. That makes sense, Lee?
Absolutely. Well said.
What should our country remember about Vietnam, Bill?
The thing most people don't realize is 70% of the guys that went over there were volunteers. Did you know that?
I haven't heard this statistic.
Yeah. I've got an email in there that gives a whole bunch of them. And there's some stuff I didn't know, believe me.
Let me ask this question.
Sure.
Who's been the biggest inspiration in your life since you were wounded?
Oh.
And did you have a good support system around you when you came home? And who was that?
Inspiration. 2 guys. One was Charlie. He was a clerk in a corner grocery store. He was a single-hand amputee. Always wore a white sock, athletic sock on his arm. I don't remember even which arm it was. But he never let the loss of his hand stop him. Grandfather. He passed away here several years ago. Heck of a nice guy. I didn't realize at the time, but he was probably a major influence on me. Another one was an uncle of mine, who as a child fell off a hay wagon and got run over. And it stunted the growth in one leg, about 4 inches. Didn't stop him a bit. Outstanding career, computers. Right now he's battling with cancer and winning. Tough guy. But he didn't let his disability get in his way from being a productive, useful citizen. Those 2 guys are pretty strong. One of the instructors, Jim Enzina, I had at the Blind Center, is my mobility instructor, was former Army, Italian campaign, World War II. Heck of a nice guy. Kind of a second father to me. Helped me out through a lot of stuff I was dealing with. There were a lot of other people. And I was extremely lucky. I got a lot of support from a lot of people. I mentioned that corpsman earlier. 2 of them, actually. Dick and Stan. Outstanding people. And there were others, too, there. Nurses, doctors along the way. I met a couple of idiots there, but there were some pretty good ones. There were some that weren't real good, but there were some good ones. And family, you know, were supportive. And yet, they would let me... the biggest help a lot of people did was back off and let me try it on my own. And not rush in to fix it if I didn't make it right. Let me figure it out. You've got to fail once in a while in order to succeed. And if you fail first, the success comes a little sweeter. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's what it seems like to me. My grandmother, who put me on this track with the pottery, and I think that one thing probably kept me from going crazy. I was too active not to do something. Okay, I think that covers it pretty much.
Just a couple more questions.
Yeah.
I think you've got a great sense of humor. Did you have that before you were wounded? Or did that come afterwards?
I always liked a good joke. I just have more to make fun of now myself. Well, you know, it's...
What do you want people to, what do you want your family and friends to remember about you someday when you're gone?
that I took it with me. I don't know. It's that I tried my best, I think. Yeah, that's good enough. He gave it a shot, or wouldn't quit. I've changed ways if that's the case. But anyhow, that's what I'd like them to remember. They probably won't. I remember a grump. My oldest granddaughter said, "You know, Grandpa, sometimes you're grandpa." She's right. I am grandpa. Oh, I was going to tell you about... Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
We just got a couple of minutes. Listen, here's a question I've never asked. If you were to ever write a book, what would the title of the book be?
Haven't got a clue. I don't know. This guy over here thinks it probably should be No Excuse. I don't know, because I've been thinking about writing a book, but I imagine that's all the farther it's going to be. I'll just think about it. There's too many people that could sue me. Well, of course, my first wife has died, so she won't sue me. Now, I don't know, with lawyers nowadays, who knows? I don't know.
That's all right.
I don't know.
Well, we did
A
good.
title I haven't even thought about. I'm not home. So.
I think we've done good. What I'd like to do, if it's okay, we should take a break, maybe for, I don't know if Diana had some lunch here for you guys or whatever, and then we need to start winding down about 2:30 because I have to leave by 3, but I'm going to go out to the shop and kind of scout it out a little bit. I may take my light out there.
You'll probably need something.
I want to do a nice segment, so how about we take a break now?
Okay.
And I want to thank you for serving our country, and I want to thank you for allowing us to come over today, and this has really been amazing, Bill.
I've had fun doing both things.
You just shared with me, and I'm blown away. I'm encouraged. I mean, I'm so glad to meet you.